Hello everybody, it is April 11th, 2022. I would like to take a look at Bitcoin today, but first I'm going to look at what I said on Friday. Always like to do that to go over where we left off with the last public video. So I said at the time, this is basically a no trade zone. Lots of chop in the near future, no high confidence structure in place for either the bulls or the bears, right? I also said that the bulls had failed miserably. They broke the 44.2K level and they failed their backup plan, which is the diagonal structure. Because of that, I was leaning bearish, like 65 in favor of the bears, 65 to 35% in favor of the bears. And then I said if Bitcoin completes 5 waves down, I'll be fully bearish again, right? And expecting a new low under 33K. So let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right. So let's see where we were at that time and where we are now. So at the time of writing, that was pretty much right there. We were sitting at the top of that wave 3 support, and I had drawn this wave 4 box right here. And, wasn't sure if it was going to go further down into wave 3 or not over the weekend. Obviously it didn't. It just kind of chopped sideways here and then made its way up into that 4th wave resistance zone on Sunday. And now you can see obviously from Sunday on through Monday, we had a dump down. And we have surpassed at this point the level expected by wave 5, which would have been this green box here. So that being said, there's a couple different ways to look at it. Number one is that this is an extension on wave 5, which is certainly possible. And we will relatively soon see a second wave bounce, meaning this is wave 1, this is wave 2, before we head down further. That would be my primary scenario and my desired scenario. I want to see that. I want to see this end because we really are in a place where it should end. The alternative scenario, which is also possible, is that this is 1, this is 2, and all of this is 3. That is certainly possible. I can't say for sure whether, which one of those is going to play out. But basically, we would then expect a wave 4 bounce and a 5th wave down before getting our higher degree second wave. So the question basically is how high do we come on the next bounce, essentially. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on as an alternate just so I can keep my eye on it. It doesn't really change anything, to be perfectly honest with you. I still think we're going to see lower levels to come, but I just want to have this as a possibility on here to track, because it'll help us in the short term if we know, a little bit better where we are. So there's the alternative where we did an extended third here. And let's assume for a moment the bottom is already in that alternate scenario, which would mean we should see wave 4 resistance right here. And what I'm going to do is put that in like an orange color instead, because it's for my alternate scenario. And then our wave 5 expectation would be here, which I'll put in a blue color. So that's my alternate, right? Primary scenario, basically, if we get above this orange box, I'll be in the primary scenario of this being the end, or if we push down a little further, then wherever it goes, I'll drag this fib down. But assuming the bottom is in or will be soon, we should see a second wave bounce, which should go more into this region ideally. So I'm going to make that red because that's my primary scenario, resistance box there. Okay. And what that means is this is all part of a larger degree 1. This would then be 2, and we would move down from there for 3, 4, and 5, somewhere down here. And it really does depend on Number one, is the bottom already in? Number two, how high into this box do we go, or even higher? Because second waves typically end right here in this area, but they can go a little bit higher, and we've got room basically up to about the 886. So, which, if you remember back here somewhere, where was it? We were looking at this as being a possible 1 and 2, and this came up really, really high. Obviously, it didn't end up then playing out, so maybe that was our warning sign at the time. So we really shouldn't see it go up that high, but I am just warning, it is a possibility, and it could still be a legitimate second wave if it did that. But ideally, we would end the second wave in this zone here. And this is, my primary scenario now. And we're going to make that a larger degree, like so. Not that large though, because that's part of that. Right there. Okay. So intermediate degree within this primary degree here. So yeah, this is, short-term expectations. Basically, if all we see is a little push up here and then further selling, I'll move into this being my primary scenario. And basically all that will do is move our wave one here, and then we'll expect a larger degree second wave up from that point. Obviously just starting from a lower base, and therefore this red box will come down. But for now, like I said, I'm just going to assume that we are in this scenario instead until proven otherwise. Okay, so there's our levels to look at, sort of this 40 to 42 range, well, 40.8 to 42 range, and then the larger degree second wave would be 42.5 to 44.8, give or take, would be the primary place for that. So I wouldn't be starting to short here, to be honest, because I'm not convinced that is what's going to play out. I am going to look to short this area here with a stop above the high of 48.2. That's a really high probability trade, and will likely lead to much further downside. And then once that's in place, I'll be able to get targets for these 3, 4, and 5 down here. But we can pretend for a moment. We ended wave one there. Second wave, let's just call it the middle right there, the 0.5 fib. And again, this will adjust based on where that second wave actually goes. But if it did that, third wave expectation would be likely somewhere in this 32 to 31 region. Fourth wave could be 35 to 37. And then fifth and final wave down looks like 30.2 down to 28.7 or so. So anywhere in this kind of like 28 to 30 region seems like a logical end of this, which lines up once again with my higher degree where I was expecting coming down into this sub 30K region to finally finish off the fifth wave of the C wave of the expanded flat fourth wave that I've talked about on the higher degree charts. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to some of my older videos and review that. But essentially, I've been looking for an end to the correction, which started all the way back the first time that we hit 60Ks, right? This was the end of the major third wave right here. We then had a really large, drop down into this region, back into the, low 30s, high 28s, for an initial bottoming that turned out to be an A wave. As we were making our way back up to the 69K high, I was warning that this looked a lot like a 3-wave move instead of a 5-wave move, and that it was possible from this 69K high, it was very possible that we would see a move back down into the 30s. And I think I was the only person that I knew about that was saying that, to be perfectly honest. But I don't know many other analysts that were saying that was a possibility. But I was taking steps back then to protect myself and protect my assets. I didn't go fully bearish until a little bit lower down. Basically after this wick down here, that's when I was looking for an exit. and I exited all of my crypto here at that 50K level. Basically, it was like 49K Bitcoin, and I've just been sitting in cash since then, and waiting for a bottom to form. Now, if you review my videos from the past few months back, like January and beyond, I've been looking for a bottom. We didn't get a good structure here, so since then I've really been looking for the completion of this correction, and it just has not come yet. I thought we were going to get it sooner. I stopped out of my shorts when we broke 45.8. It just, we broke this high, and it became a lot less likely that we were going immediately down. Now, obviously, since then, we've just continued downwards. And at the time, I said it is very, very possible still that this is simply a WXY in the fourth wave. And we are going to see a move down again into that 28K range to finally finish off this correction. So I never went full bull on this. I was short-term bullish for a bit. Back here, it looked like we had a micro 5-wave impulse. I was short-term bullish, but I quickly got stopped out of those positions and went back into cash. So I lost, a couple percentage points basically on my portfolio, and gladly went back into cash at that time, because that I exited right here, 44.2, and obviously we're well below that now. So it was a good stop, and once again now, the action has proven to me that the bears are in full control and are likely going to push us down further after we get the second wave bounce. So, and that's where I'll get aggressive again on shorts, like I said. So let's go ahead and get rid of some of these fibs. We've now got our boxes for support. We've got our alternate and primary scenario. Now, we have to discuss the alternate bullish scenario, and to be perfectly honest with you, there really isn't one. There's not a good one anyway. All of this action is awful. This is just complete crap. It really, really is. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. I've never seen anything this bad before. It's unreadable. And that makes me think that we will come down here. At least that makes sense then. If we break to a new low, it makes a lot of sense with the larger time frame chart, and we can make a move from there off of those lows. Now the bulls will have their work cut out for them, but they can do it, right? Because they'll be starting down here. We can ignore all of this action. If this comes down to the lows, we can ignore all this crap, and the bulls can have a chance to finally give us a proper impulse off the lows, which would build a solid foundation to finally see the bull run up to the 100 to 130K region. This is not a solid foundation, and I've said that over and over and over again over the past few months. This is not a solid foundation to build a bull run on. And this right here is proof of that. If this was going to continue upwards, it would have needed to continue upwards a heck of a lot more convincingly than what it's done. And right now we are breaking down and breaking down and breaking down. And this, again, is just proof of what I've been saying the entire time. This is a terrible foundation for the bulls. And I did not expect them to be able to capitalize on it and be able to push higher because of that. It's like trying to build a building in sand. It just doesn't work unless you drill all the way down to the bedrock, right? So that's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to drill down to the bedrock. That's a good way to put it. Drill down to the bedrock, pour our concrete down there so that we can build a skyscraper on top of it. This right here, not good enough. We're trying to build on top of sand there, and the whole thing is just going to fall over. Okay, so there you go. If you're in construction, there's a good analogy for you. All right, so anyway, bullish alternative. I got sidetracked there. Bullish alternative, there really isn't one. The best case scenario still would be some form of diagonal. It's quickly losing even that as a possibility. I need to keep kind of dragging this down, and it really is not a steep diagonal then in this case. But essentially this would have to be A, B, and C up into this region for a third wave. The bulls need to see a huge bounce real soon. They need to break this high, and they need to get up here at a minimum to the 52 to 58K region. But it doesn't solve the longer term structural problems that I've talked about. It doesn't give us a good foundational base. So it really is not something that I want to see happen, but it is just the only bullish alternative that there is. There's no way to predict it, to be perfectly honest with you. If this just starts flying upwards, that's the scenario that I start going into. I'll then look at this as a diagonal, where this, wherever that ends is the third wave. We'll move this diagonal structure around a little bit till we get to the top of it, and then we'll look for a fourth wave pullback to the bottom, and then a fifth wave up to the top. But it could potentially mean months and months and months of chop that eventually gets us up into the 60Ks, 70Ks again. But that could just be the end then. That could just die. Like this, again, is not a good foundational base to start from. So that pretty much sums up my thoughts on it at the moment. And the most important thing for me right now is just tracking this micro and seeing what it does, seeing which one of these boxes we end up rejecting from, assuming the bottom is in already, and going from there. So focus really at this point is on shorts, hopefully from this region. That would make the absolute most sense to me, but we all know how Bitcoin likes to not make sense and do things that are unpredictable. And because the bears and the bulls both have been unable to capitalize on any sort of opportunity that has been presented to them, it is always possible that this just gets a big jump up for absolutely no reason at all. It's a possibility still in the chart. So all I really care about is the chart. I don't care about fundamentals. I don't care about the news that's happening. Everybody's screaming at me like, why? What would the reason be to drop from here down to below 30K? And if we drop down here, how could you possibly say it's going to bounce from there? I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's what the chart says to me, right? The chart says that is a very strong possibility. So the news, frankly, doesn't matter. And I don't think that there is any news explaining this move down that we've seen. Not that I've seen anyway. I've said it before, the news is just an excuse. People want an explanation for stuff, right? So, the stock market's dropping. Oh, it must be because, Russia invaded Ukraine. No, you know what? The stock market has been dropping way before that happened. That's why I sold the majority of my stocks and raised cash at the 4,800 highs on the S&P 500. The chart said that was to be expected, and that was back in December. I sold most of my stocks in December and then rebought them all when Russia invaded Ukraine. That's when I rebought, because that was the bottom that was predicted by the chart. So anyway, that's enough beating of that dead horse, but again, ignore the chart at your own peril. It does not bode well that this is making a 5-wave move, arguably has already completed a 5-wave move. It really, really leans in favor of the bears. So I'm not 100% bearish right now, because I'm never 100% anything, but I am 80% bearish, right? I think there's an 80% chance that we reject from that box and go lower. So that's how I will be trading with my money. Obviously, everybody needs to make their own plan and be happy with that plan, but I am very happy to be sitting on a large amount of cash and not holding any crypto whatsoever. All right, everybody, that's all I've got for tonight. So please, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so you get my latest content. Hit the like button on the video. That's helpful for me as well. And then check out the suggested video here, which is the longer term view on Bitcoin and where we should be headed once this correction finally ends. All right, good night, everybody.